And he hits one well out to right field. Going back to the wall now. Soto, you ready for that? A two-run
You called
homer.
it. You called
Right
it.
into the first row for Matt Olson.
You can hear Ben Ingram on the call.
Shot. RBIs 39 and 40, and it's 7-1 Braves.
Welcome into It's Just the Show. I'm your host, Jay Stone, and with me, as always, is Corey Champney.
Hey.
And we're here in Habersham County Broadcasting Studios in the beautiful Northeast Georgia mountains. And today's episode is brought to you by 99.3 WCON, My Country. And we're here today to talk to you about the usual Braves baseball, Atlanta Falcons football, the Georgia Bulldogs, New England Patriots football, and the Boston Red Sox. We covered our first episode with the NBA Finals. We talked about the Boston Red Sox. We talked about some of our greatest of all-time players during our generation of baseball. And today we're going to bring you basketball and football. We're going to do pro basketball, we're going to do professional football, and we're going to do college football. Talk a little ball, talk a little game. Today we're going to get started with the GOATs of basketball. So I feel like we should start with the three-point line because anything before that is not pro basketball. It's adult co-ed sports.
Yeah. I was born in 85, and Jay was born in 90, so we are kind of the same generation, so to speak, but we saw a lot
We're millennials.
Yeah, you know, we're the last of the great generations because everything behind us is anyways.
So I feel like with any sport, you can break it up by position and do a top five of every position. But I also feel like basketball is one of those sports where you really need to be able to do everything if you're going to make the list.
And I think just breaking it down by position is unfair. I think we can just do like a top five.
I think there's no question between the two of us. There is a lot of people on social media that would argue, but Michael Jeffrey Jordan is the greatest basketball player who ever lived.
Exactly. And you know, people are like, well, he didn't get off to the best start of his career. No, he didn't. But
well, he was playing with fugitives.
He was playing on a horrible team. When he first got drafted, 84, 85?
84.
Yeah, he came out of North Carolina, and he was playing on a very bad Bulls team, but everybody saw the talent.
Oh, yeah.
But then he went up against the Detroit Pistons.
And they beat the crap out of him.
And that changed his entire game.
Yep.
And completely. And what other athlete has a brand, a shoe brand named after them? It's not just Nike, it's Air Jordan makes them, but that's his brand. The guy not only makes that, apparently he wears very good Fruit of the Looms. Gatorade.
Yeah,
Coke,
I mean Gatorade athlete.
Coca-Cola, McDonald's.
He's branded onto Nike, so Nike products have his silhouette like the NBA has Jerry
exactly.
West.
And everybody says, oh, well, LeBron's better than him. Dude, LeBron couldn't even make a good Looney Tunes movie.
He had to remake a movie that
And it wasn't
Jordan
even that
made.
good. Jordan didn't have to be animated,
That's true.
you know?
Except for the one stretch.
Yeah.
One stretch scene.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, it was more CGI than animated, but, you know.
Here's my thing. If Jordan would not have taken time off from baseball for whatever reason, if he would not have taken time off for baseball from basketball, he could have won 9 out of 10 championships
absolutely.
in that decade.
In fact, I think Hakeem Olajuwon should thank Jordan for
Absolutely.
for taking that time off because the
The
Rockets,
city of Houston should thank him.
the Rockets would not have won back-to-back championships if Jordan was still playing.
It would have just been somebody else that Jordan beat.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
there are not any other players in basketball history where their mentality is the first thing they talk about, and the second thing they talk about is an equal match to their mentality. And Jordan was just as good as he was focused.
Look at all those white boys that he made really good. Look
Yeah.
really good. I mean, Tony Kukoc, average player at best, but he was elevated because of Jordan.
Steve Kerr.
Steve Kerr.
Shot over 50%. You think that was because Steve Kerr?
No, it's because they were
What?
double-teaming Jordan.
Exactly. And
Scottie-
his wide open shots.
Scottie Pippen's a great player, but he was made even better being with Jordan. And
Look at what Scottie did the 2 years Jordan was gone.
yeah,
I mean, he could have won an MVP.
I mean,
he played that good.
I think they were a playoff team the first year he left.
Yep.
But they didn't have Jordan. They didn't have that one thing to take him over the hump. Now, when Jordan comes back, what do they get? They get Dennis Rodman to work under the basket and blocking shots. The best defensive player of his time.
I think that Dennis Rodman is the best defensive player in NBA history.
And I do too. And he came from the Detroit Pistons team in 88, 89, 90 that they were dominant. I mean, just a great team. But Jordan number 1, I think we could do a 1B.
Yeah.
Or 2, but I'm going to say 1B and Kobe.
Yeah, same.
And you want to say a player that he came out of high school, you know? He came out of high school, and he was a boy playing with men, and he was dominating.
Yep.
And everybody says, oh, well, he didn't win a championship till he got Shaq. Well, you know what? Jordan didn't win a championship till Scottie Pippen came around.
Yeah. So LeBron didn't win a championship until he got Kyrie. Everybody needs
he had to have 2 other guys help him win.
Yeah, Kevin Love's not a scrub either.
No. And then in Miami, he had D-Wade and Bosh.
And D-Wade had already been there. He had experience winning one with Shaq in 06.
And the fact is, in the previous episode, you talked about how the Celtics this year didn't have that chemistry. Well, that Lakers team,
right,
that won those championships with Shaq and Kobe, they didn't have that chemistry either. In fact, they didn't like each other.
Right.
But they found a way to make it work.
Exactly. And it was a business decision.
It worked for them. And I can say that this Celtics team kind of reminds me of the way that those Lakers played.
Yeah.
If you think about it. And I didn't put that correlation together till kind of just now, actually. But Kobe, just for his mentality, they called him the Black Mamba, the most venomous snake in the world, the Black Mamba, because that's what he was. He was a snake. He was going to go out there and he was going to inject his venom into you and dominate.
Yep.
And kill you.
Absolutely. In every way possible. And I watched the interview with Kobe, and he's talking about the 2 different versions of himself, the number 8 version with the afro and the number 24, with the experience and the slick shaved head.
Yeah.
Those were 2 different players.
Oh, yeah.
And that's another reason to me why he's the GOAT. We will continue to reference LeBron James to prove why he's not in the top 5. So you're going to hear his name a lot because he's very relevant, and everybody wants to explain, he is.
Not the greatest of all time, though.
Yeah, he's not the greatest of all time. He is an incredible player.
Yes.
He's had consistency over a very long 2 decades.
Here's my argument against LeBron. Drop him into the 80s.
Not going to make it.
Not going to make it because of the way the defensive rules were set up. Drop him into the 90s. Does LeBron win over those Bulls teams?
No.
Does LeBron win over that Houston team that won back-to-back championships?
I don't think so.
Does LeBron stand a chance against a Kobe Bryant Lakers team?
No.
A Kobe and Shaq?
Not with any team that he played on.
No.
I mean, if you drop him into that time frame and you put him with Houston and Charles Barkley, maybe.
Maybe.
I'm sorry, Phoenix, not Houston. If you put him in Phoenix with Charles Barkley, maybe. But
I mean, okay, we could even say the 2000 Spurs.
Yeah.
With Tim Duncan and David Robinson. No.
No way.
Not at all. So
he didn't beat him when he was in Miami the first time.
So I think our 1 and 2s are pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Who do you have for number 3?
Number 3 is kind of a pull for me. It just depends on the day of the week. Not my top 5. 1, 2 are always consistently the same. Michael, Jeffrey, Jordan, and Kobe Bean Bryant. I'm going to go with Tim Duncan. Consistently, one of the most professional athletes of all time. Just stoic. When it mattered, cool, calm, collected. There was never any controversy around his career. And consistently throughout his career, he put up those numbers. And everyone compares big men to him. Even Shaq compares himself. That is the staple. That's where you got to go. David Robinson talked about his basketball intelligence.
Yep.
He's just that good. He's smart.
And he was.
You got Tim Duncan out of Wake Forest. Some people will try to kick me in the knee over, picking him over a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Shaq. But Tim Duncan, it was just executed. Executed.
I had Tim Duncan at number 5, so I'll just go ahead and say that my number 5 was Tim Duncan. For all the reasons you said, but for me, my number 3 is Shaquille O'Neal.
Right.
And when you talk about Shaq, you're talking about a guy whose career, went from 1992 to 2011. He won 4 championships. He's 3 times an NBA Finals MVP. One of the most dominant big men of all time. Couldn't shoot a free throw to save his life.
Hey, he made them when they mattered.
Yeah. Which
really, really mattered.
Yeah. But, you look at his accolades. He's had his number retired by 3 different teams.
I don't know how many other people can say that.
He was Rookie of the Year in 93 with the Magic. He was a All-Defensive Player of the Year. He was a 8-time NBA First Team and 3-time NBA All-Star Game MVP. And he won an MVP award in 2000, that same year he played with Kobe in L.A. So, yeah, the guy is a winner. The guy was the most dominant. 7'1", 325 pounds.
Yeah.
The guy was jacked coming out of LSU.
Freak of nature.
Coming out of LSU, and that Magic team went to the championship. Him and Penny Hardaway. They got destroyed, but they still went with those young players. Then he left Orlando, went to L.A., and played with Kobe and won rings. So, and to me,
and then he went to Miami and won one with Dwight.
Yeah, he did. And, finished his career out with the Celtics, but I think he also played in Phoenix as well. But he, to me, is the most dominant big guy. Even when his career was coming to an end, he could still dominate the boards. He still got the rebounds.
You could drop Shaquille O'Neal into any
era.
Any era.
And every guy that we've talked about, you can make that argument for. And that's the reason why I say LeBron is not the greatest of all time. He's the greatest of this era, maybe, of right now. And he's probably not even the best. He's probably maybe top 5.
Yes,
because Steph Curry's better.
Yeah, Steph Curry's better. That's my argument. Like, hands down, Steph Curry is the best basketball player in this generation. Yes. That's why you can't make the argument for LeBron, because he's not even the best.
I would love to see the comments on this, but you know what? We're right.
Yeah.
We're right. Look at the stats. Compare his stats to Jordan's stats, and it's not even close.
No, it's not. It's starting to get close because he's played more years than Jordan now. But only 4 times in NBA history has a player recorded every single individual accolade that you could possibly get. So, regular season MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Conference MVP, Finals MVP, and scoring title.
And let me guess, he wears Nikes?
Yep.
Okay. Is he 23?
Yes.
Okay.
He did it all 4 times.
Michael Jordan.
It's only been done 4 times, and he did it all 4 times. LeBron hasn't done it once. He didn't almost do it. Like, there's nobody else has done it. So that's why he's number 1.
The guy went out and played with the flu.
Yep. Well, and even if it wasn't the flu and it was a freaking hangover, it was a bad one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he still dominated.
Absolutely.
What was that story? Going back to the Magic, the finals of the Magic, where Nick Anderson, I think is who it was talking about. What was it? 45.
4-5 is not 2-3.
So, for those who don't understand, Michael Jordan left to play baseball. And when he came back, he wasn't wearing number 23. He was wearing number 45, and he wasn't the same player right away because there is a grace period when you come back to a sport. You have to relearn how to play. Now, for Jordan, he wasn't having the best playoff ever for him. So he said, I'm not afraid. Or he said, one of the players said, I'm not afraid of 4-5. 45?
4-5's not 2-3.
Yeah. And so what does Jordan do? This is how Jordan was. And Nick Anderson said, this is how petty he is.
His windbreaker with it zipped up.
That's what it is. Yeah,
and the announcer says, now wearing 45, Michael Jordan.
And then like Superman, he turns from Clark Kent into Superman. He takes off that, unzips that windbreaker, and it was like number 23. And you got to think in your mind, uh-oh.
Yeah, it's like, don't ever fuel that fire. If there was ever a pro athlete that you don't get started.
Exactly.
It's him.
Yeah, it's like giving Tom Brady bulletin board material. He's going to destroy you, So your that's my number 3 is Shaq. Who's your number 4?
My number 4 is going to be the great Larry Bird.
Yes.
Larry Bird, just all around talented basketball player who, if he played right now, it would be hands down. He would be the GOAT.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody would be screaming, "Oh my God, Larry Bird!"
Yeah.
He's talented. The way he played basketball would fit better now than it did in his era, and he still dominated in his era. He was an incredible passer. Everything about basketball, he was an incredible mind, and if he thought it, he could do it. So we've all heard the stories of him playing games where he only shot left-handed.
Yep. And he talked so much smack, and he backed it up.
He would tell players what he was about to do and then do it. And there was
who was it? Was it Magic Johnson saying that Larry always took the ball in from out of bounds? Always took the ball in, and he would take the ball in, one step, boom.
Yep.
3-pointer.
Yep.
And another guy said that he looked so bad playing that he didn't have, like, he wasn't a smooth player.
Right.
But somehow he would always
just
make a
unbelievable. Natural.
And I'm going to agree with you. He's my number 4. Best white guy to ever play.
Yeah.
You know.
Heck yeah.
Hands down. I mean, a guy from Indiana,
right?
Made his career with the Boston Celtics.
One of my favorite Larry Bird stories is I do not remember who they were playing or the situation, other than time was ticking down and Larry had the ball and coach called a timeout. And Larry was getting ready. He had already told the defender what he was going to do. Yeah. He was like, "I'm dribbling the clock out. I'm going to do a step back and I'm going to shoot it right over here. I'm going to make it." And coach calls a timeout. Larry comes to the bench and he's pretty pissed. He was like, "You know what? You ruined my rhythm." And the coach says, "Everybody sit down, gather up." He starts to call the play, and Larry's like, "Just give me an inbound where I'm coming off a pick." And he says, "Larry, be quiet. I'm the coach. It's my decision. So this is what we're going to do." And he gives everybody the instructions, and then he ends with Larry, and he goes, "And you're going to come off that pick and get the ball, and you're going to take that shot."
Yep.
And sure enough, Larry comes off the pick, and he tells the defender everything that's going to happen. The ball hits his hands. He takes a shot, game winner. It's just, he's an absolute legend. He was respected by all of his peers.
Yep.
And he doesn't get enough credit today about the unbelievable things that he did to help break that race barrier in that time too. Like a lot of men we talked about in episode 1 in baseball, they were advocates in professional basketball as well.
Yeah. So I gave my number 5 earlier as Tim Duncan for all the same reasons you said. And look, they created a dynasty even after David Robinson retired. He did it with Tony Parker, and probably the best big man, like you said. Shaq started it. Tim Duncan continued it. As you really need a big to dominate. I mean, in Dallas, you look at Dirk Nowitzki. They couldn't do it without him.
Yep.
So that's
they didn't get it done the first time with him.
No, but
the second time though, he came back seasoned.
Yes. So for all the same reasons you mentioned, Tim Duncan. So you're number 5.
For all the reasons that you mentioned, Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah.
My guy is the only reason I got Tim Duncan higher than Shaq is, I say the only reason, the small group of reasons that I have Tim Duncan over Shaq: the free throws,
yes,
and the way he played the game. Shaq was more aggressive. He was outlandish. He was outspoken. He lost his temper. He had a battle with Kobe Bryant over who was the best player on the team, and everybody knew it. Tim Duncan had zero negative publicity.
I mean, and how scary is that? A big man like that losing his temper?
Right.
Oh.
I mean, Shaq was absolutely terrifying, and he was dominant. But that kind of is a testament to why I put Duncan at 3, because he's just an oak. And he faced all the same troubles and battles that Shaq did. They played in the same era. They played the same people.
Tell your Shaq story.
So I'm at Super Bowl 50 in Santa Clara, California, and we're building the NFL Super Bowl tailgate party. It's going to be the Denver Broncos and the Carolina Panthers. That's the Peyton Manning Super Bowl. Seal is playing on stage, A Kiss from a Rose, and we're all kind of goofing off, fixing a leg under a stand where this, like a dining room is up, and somebody walked across and was like, "Hey, this deck is bouncing. Can somebody go check on it?" So they grab us. We're on call. we go up under there, and sure enough, one of the little wood pads has come undone. So we fix it, tighten it all up, and we come out from under the side skirting around this deck, and the people in front of me go first, take a left, go first, take a left. The next person goes left. I walk out and don't even look right. I don't know why. I'm just assuming nobody's coming. And everything just kind of got dark, and I get sideswiped in the face, and I hear and feel the voice go, "Hey there, little fella, you all right?" And this monstrous hand, his fingertips are on my left shoulder and his thumb's on my right shoulder. And I look up, and it's Shaquille O'Neal, and he's enjoying the pregame tailgate party. And I have literally run into this man, and I can't help but think if I'd have walked out mid-stride and he'd have kicked me, I still would not have landed yet. That is the biggest human being I've ever stood next to. And, like, he patted me on the back, like, "You all right? I didn't mean to run into you," like it was his fault.
Did he have to, like, lean down to pat you on the back?
Oh, man. I was at the bottom of his reach, so he didn't really have to bend over. I think he leaned over so I could hear him, but I could feel his voice in my chest.
So to put this in perspective, we're about the same height, right?
Yeah.
About what, 5'9", 5'10", somewhere in there?
Somewhere in there.
So you're up to, like, his waist.
Yeah. Like his belly button hit me in the ear hole.
Yeah,
Like,
it's crazy.
It is. He almost knocked me over. And he was just as cool as he can be. Shout out to Shaquille O'Neal. Shout out to Shaq. If you ever hear this podcast, man, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby.
Big fan. Top 5 GOAT all time.
As we move on from the NBA, we'll move on to the National Football League. Oop, oop. The NFL, the No Fun League.
Yeah, the No Fun League.
As they call it now. But I think we have to do the same for the NFL. Let's do offense and defense. So we'll do a top 5 offense, top 5 defense.
I'm down.
I guess
we do quarterbacks and then wide receiver, quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, and then defensive players.
So I'm gonna tell you, and I guess everybody can guess who my number 1 quarterback is gonna be.
Well, anybody who watched football for the last 20 years should have him.
Let me preface this by saying I have 2 honorable mentions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, from the time I've lived, which so far has been 38 years. I'm going to say the best quarterbacks that I've seen, other than the guy I'm about to mention, are Brett Favre and Peyton Manning. But they would be considered the greatest of all time if this dude, number 12 for the New England Patriots, was never drafted in the 6th round and played his whole career with a chip on his shoulder. And we're talking about Tom Brady. And what he did... You got to remember, too, until Randy Moss came along, he won his first couple of Super Bowls without star players.
Yep.
I mean, it was just, okay, here's Joe Schmo. Now, he'd had Troy Brown as a receiver, and he had Antoine Smith, but he came in. Drew Bledsoe goes down in 2001. He comes in, and he didn't have the greatest game in the world, but he kept winning. And he goes down in the AFC Championship. Drew Bledsoe comes in, they win. And they're going up against the number 1 offensive team in the NFL, the Kurt Warner-led St. Louis Rams.
Yeah, the greatest show on turf.
You have to think about it. They had Torrey Holt, they had Isaac Bruce, they had Marshall Faulk, they had Kurt Warner, and the New England Patriots, who, yes, on defense, they had Ty Law, Lawyer Malloy. They had guys like that. But they're going up against this guy that was a 6th-round draft pick, didn't play his rookie year at all in 2000, and he's playing in a Super Bowl in his first full season as a quarterback. And he's only in there by accident.
Yeah, right.
And he wins. And not only does he win, but he drives the ball down the field for Adam Vinatieri to kick the game-winning field goal.
And all you can hear is John Madden going, I take a knee here, I go into overtime.
Exactly. And then in 03 and 04, they went back-to-back.
Yeah.
And then it's unfair when they get Randy Moss to come in. Yeah. And not to mention, you have a guy like Wes Welker that you're throwing the ball to, too. But
Eli.
Exactly. Like, come on now. But I'm not going to talk about that helmet catch because if that catch were to happen today, it would be against the rules. But
Eli Manning, the Dragon Slayer.
But I digress. He ruined our perfect season.
He did, and you know what? I really think it was a 50-50 split on fans that year. Not even all Patriot fans were disappointed. I think literally half of sports fans wanted to see somebody break that Miami Dolphin record.
I would have
to the T.
traded the perfect season for a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And, Julian Edelman on his podcast asked Teddy Bruschi that, and Teddy Bruschi said, without a shadow of a doubt, I would trade a perfect season for that Super Bowl in a heartbeat. But the reason why is because Tom Brady dominated. And people would say, well, he didn't have the longest, he didn't have the best arm in the world. Just look at some of those passes to Randy Moss. He's throwing it down the field. But he dinked and dunked and controlled the clock and knew the thing that made him so good was he knew where everybody was. He can look at one receiver and throw it to a different guy. And look at all the careers he made. Welker, Edelman, Gronk. I mean, Randy Moss's career was rejuvenated playing for him.
Right.
So my number one is Tom Brady. Whether you like him or you don't, you have to respect the fact that he is the greatest of all time, and he changed how the game was played.
Yeah. And, I think what goes through my mind when I hear you talking about Tom Brady and how he was dinking and dunking, there's a scene in NFL films when they're talking about the rise of Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And it's like Drew Bledsoe on the sideline holding the clipboard. He's got shoulder pads. He's in full pads, but he's headset clipboard for Tom. And he's like, Tom, what do you like? And he's like, I like sticks. I like slants. I like nines. He's like, oh, you like to look good. Got it. Yeah. What quarterback doesn't?
Yeah.
And then he made a career out of it. It worked for them.
You remember that play where, all right, Tom Brady does not run. He runs like a horse that's been shot in the leg.
Yeah.
But you remember that play where they're playing the Bears and he jukes Brian Urlacher. Just jukes him. And it was like, everybody made a big deal about him juking Brian Urlacher.
Gasp.
And I'm like, no, what happened was he just was like, please don't hit me.
Yeah.
And moved out of the way. And Urlacher was like, did that just, like, they show Urlacher and he's like, did that just happen to me? Like, come on
Are
now.
you kidding me?
But see, that was the thing. The thing he was really good at also was diving on that 3rd and 1 or that 4th and 1. And he would just dive forward and he knew he got the first down. He'd be pointing first down. So, yeah, Tom Brady
is also one of only 3 players to catch a pass over 40 years old.
Yeah. And he looked like a gimp horse doing it.
Yeah.
It did not look pretty, but you know what? Sometimes it doesn't look pretty.
And he's only one of 2 players with positive yardage on the catch over 40. The other being Jerry Rice, who has 100 times more.
I'm sure he'll come up later. But who's your top quarterback?
I mean, I'm going to keep it easy. It's Tom Brady for all the same reasons. I mean, there's nobody else out there fundamentally who set the precedence, changed the game, operated in such a way that he went through more than one generation of Patriots fans. He went through a bunch of different rosters of Patriots.
Yeah.
But I think that it's a testament to a player's accolades when they stay at the helm of the ship for that long with the same front office staff, the same ownership, and maybe go through a couple of coaches, maybe go through a couple of rosters. But when you're winning championships and playing at that high of a level and very few of the main pieces are moving, you're the guy and you're the reason. I
mean, a 7-time Super Bowl champion, a 5-time Super Bowl MVP, the Pro Bowl 15 times.
15.
I mean, he led the NFL in passing touchdowns 5 times. He was the passing leader 4 times. This is coming from a guy who couldn't throw down the field, right?
Right.
I mean, 649 touchdowns to 212 interceptions.
That's a pretty good ratio.
89,214 passing yards for his career. His passer rating, 97.2.
89,000.
And I know that there's a generation behind us that will say Joe Montana. Joe Montana had Jerry Rice to throw the ball to.
Who is the greatest wide receiver ever.
Jerry Rice left San Francisco and couldn't win the 49ers. Tom Brady left New England, breaks my heart. But he left New England and won a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Enough said,
Yeah.
So I guess we're in agreement of quarterbacks. I guess we can move on to running back.
Yeah. Running back's a tough one, I think, for both of us because we played the position.
Yeah.
GOAT running back's going to be Marshall Faulk.
Yeah.
He was the best dual threat, and Honorable mention, Christian McCaffrey.
Well, I mean, today, yeah, Christian McCaffrey. Barry Sanders was my all-time favorite when I was a kid because, you watch SportsCenter or NFL Primetime and whoop,
Yep.
whoop, Chris Berman saying, he's breaking ankles and but there are guys that you can say were a certain type of runner, like Emmitt Smith, certain type of runner.
Downhill.
Exactly. And you had guys that would just be bruisers.
Rumbling, stumbling, bumbling.
I mean, I think in a roundabout way, my long answer is Barry Sanders, in my opinion.
Yep.
He knew he played the game for so long, and then he stopped.
Yep.
I made my money. I'm not going to let my body get worn down by being one of those running backs that just can't run anymore and blow my knees out. I'm gonna stay for as long as I can. Once I made my money, I made my money. That's it. And he left at the prime of his career because he didn't want to be a worn-down football player for the rest of his life. He made his money and he walked away.
And he was on the Madden cover. So
and he was dominant. Nobody was better. Nobody could stop him. He could catch the ball and he could run. He could make guys miss. He could run through guys and could stiff arm you. And with so I mean that's running back. And we can move on to you want to do wide receiver or tight end.
I think wide receiver is a pretty short conversation about Jerry Rice.
Yeah, Jerry Rice. You could name off some guys that play now, some guys that played way back, but Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, maybe Terrell Owens. You could throw some of those guys in there. Terrell Owens played with Jerry Rice. Think about that. Steve Young had a young Terrell Owens and Jerry Rice. It's crazy.
How do you not win?
Yeah, crazy. Randy Moss. And then, the game changed with these possession receivers, where you have the guys that could run deep and catch the ball, outrun everybody, but then you had the guys that had to learn routes and run routes. And those guys coming across the middle that would just get jacked up by a linebacker, and they're all small white guys.
Huh. At the time he retired, Jerry Rice had 38 NFL records.
Wow. And he probably still has most of those records.
Most likely. Let's see. All-time record for receptions with 1,549. Receiving yards, 22,895. Touchdown receptions, 197. Yards from scrimmage, 23,540. All-purpose yards, 23,546. Combined rushing and receiving touchdowns, 207, and total touchdowns, 208.
So, yeah.
I don't think anybody will
Jerry
ever
Rice
break.
is greatest of all time. I think
Hall of Famer.
If I'm going to name any receivers other than Jerry Rice, there's a couple that come to mind. Marvin Harrison, Isaac Bruce, and I think Randy Moss.
Yeah.
Randy Moss, I would have to throw in there, especially in our generation. He kind of
Randy Moss is like that.
Randy Moss could run routes and he could run by you.
Yes.
He could be your slot receiver or he could be your deep threat.
And if it came up to you, him, and the ball in the air, he was going to win.
Contested catches, that is such a big stat nowadays. Back then, it wasn't as big. It was still a big deal. But contested catches, there's nobody better than Randy Moss.
Contested catches back then were just called bad throws.
Yeah, bad throws. He reached up with one hand and made his quarterback look good.
Yeah.
But
now they know they're doing it on purpose. It's like, I think my guy's better than you.
Yeah. But watching Randy, I had the pleasure of watching Randy Moss in New England.
Same.
Even in Minnesota, when he had Chris Carter lining up on the other side,
Sure.
he still made all those Minnesota quarterbacks that he played for look really good. Like, come on, Gus Frerotte.
Yeah, I mean, even
Culpepper.
Dante Culpepper.
Yeah, I mean,
like he made Dante look real
he made
good.
Dante look good, and it went to show when Dante left Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? Nothing.
Absolutely nothing until Kurt showed up.
Let's talk about tight ends.
I think that one.
There's three.
There's three.
There's
Gronk, Tony,
and Mr. Taylor Swift, Travis
Kelce. An honorable mention would be Antonio Gates.
Yes. Antonio Gates, I think, because he came along before Gronk and before Travis Kelce. I think that he and thing was he never played college football. He was a basketball player. He played college basketball.
That's right.
He didn't play football. He was
He's got them hands.
He was a basketball player, and he was so good. He was so good. And Tony Gonzalez was the first guy that really kind of made you notice tight ends.
Yep.
Yeah, Jackie Slater came before, and, there were some other tight ends out there. But Tony Gonzalez, when he played with the Chiefs and later with the Falcons, so good. The guy was fast. He was big. He could block. He could catch. And he could run.
And he was a locker room guy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, big time. And Gronk was so just unique in the fact that he could catch the ball. He could lay out some blocks. He wasn't fast, but he looked fast because he was so much
large.
Yeah, so much bigger than anybody.
And he was hard to bring down.
Yeah, exactly. He was running with guys on his back.
Yeah.
Like, remember that scene in Little Giants?
Right.
Where he's grabbing the shirt and he's just, holding on to the guy for dear life. It was like one of those situations. But, and Travis Kelce, if you're going to knock on Travis Kelce at all, it would be that I don't think Travis Kelce is as full of a player as Gronk and as, Antonio Gates and even Tony Gonzalez. He's a great receiver, a great job of catching the ball and running routes. But I don't know. And I've heard people say he's a good blocker, but I don't know how great of a blocker he is.
I feel like if Travis continues on the path he's on, he is going to be the GOAT at the tight end position.
But he's also up there. I mean, he's what, 30, 31, 32, somewhere in there?
31? I feel like 31's right.
He gets that Taylor Swift money. He might retire a little early, but
that's true. I mean, he already has some records though, and multiple Super Bowl rings.
He does, and Travis Kelce is the best tight end in football probably right now.
Oh yeah, hands down,
without
right
a shadow
now.
of a doubt.
Right
But
now, yes.
If Gronk didn't get beat up the way he got beat up and didn't play as his style is so much more aggressive than Travis Kelce's.
Yes,
without a shadow of a doubt. And if Gronk didn't get beat up the way he did, and would have gotten about 3 or 4 more years under him, I don't think you'd be touching a lot of Gronk's records.
Dude, Travis Kelce had 7 straight 1,000-yard receiving seasons.
I know, it's ridiculous.
He missed last season by 16 yards.
He's definitely got Gronk on receiving yards because Gronk only had 9,286 receiving yards.
Yep.
But Gronk also has 92 receiving touchdowns. So a lot of that goes to show you a lot of short yardage touchdowns. When you're in the red zone, you're throwing it to that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Travis is making plays over the middle of the field, more like Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah, and Travis Kelce has the speed advantage over Gronk, definitely. But there was nobody, when you needed a first down or touchdown, you're throwing it to that dude.
Yeah, red zone and short yardage threat tight end, number one. Yeah. I don't think there's a talk like Gronk.
I mean, they lined him up at fullback sometimes.
Right.
They handed him the ball off. He ran a ball. I think he has a rushing touchdown.
One rushing touchdown.
Yeah, a rushing touchdown. And it was probably from, like, goal line. But still, could you imagine lining? I mean, and the Bears did it with William Perry.
The Fridge.
Who was a defensive player. But could you imagine how scary that is? You seeing him line up at, like, fullback or running back? It's like,
Yeah.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. All right, let's move to the defensive side of the ball, and we'll start defensive interior, defensive tackle. I'm going to start off and recently retired Aaron Donald.
Yes.
He's the best defensive tackle of our generation.
Aaron Donald, Richard Seymour.
Yeah.
Played for the Patriots and the Raiders. Georgia, UGA.
Go Dogs.
Aaron Donald, I would say, him and Richard Seymour are 2 of the guys that come to mind. Warren Sapp played inside
defensive
too.
tackle,
yeah.
Yep.
So you could throw Warren Sapp in there because Warren Sapp changed the way that, those interior linemen played the game. And I think those are the 3 that I would go with.
I can be aligned with that. I think if we go to the outside for edge rushers, I think we can put edge rushers and outside linebackers in the same categories because the best edge rushers also play in pass coverage.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Lawrence Taylor.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, the guy ends careers.
Right. More than one.
Yeah.
And then I think J.J. Watt is definitely an honorable mention. A nightmare off the edge for a long time.
Oh, yeah, of course. A guy that's underrated and I'm going to say this because I'm a Patriots fan, but Teddy Bruschi.
Yeah.
Teddy Bruschi, linebacker, but he could do it all. He could go and pass.
Undersized, too.
Yes, he could go, and he was known for the neck roll.
Yep.
You know, he had the big neck roll, but he could play in passing downs and running downs because he could blow up the run, get to your quarterback, and not only that, he made other guys on that team really, really good.
And he's intelligent. You can tell when he's broadcasting.
And he was a team leader.
Yep.
He led that locker room, at least on the defensive side. Jesse Tuggle for the Falcons was another one. Just the speed. And look at his son. Look at what his son's doing for the Falcons now.
Yep.
You know, it's crazy to think about that, you know, you had this guy that was very talented playing on an Atlanta team. And the only reason why people don't know about Jesse Tuggle is because he played in Atlanta.
Right.
Because he was a Falcon.
Well, I mean, he did get a little bit of exposure in that Super Bowl against the Broncos, but he got the wrong kind of exposure because John Elway absolutely sliced him to pieces.
Yeah.
You know, the year before the Broncos tear up Green Bay on the ground, where Terrell Davis breaks the record for 3 rushing touchdowns in a Super Bowl, and then Atlanta comes out, prepares for that, and then John Elway comes out like he's a teenager. I have a different designation from inside outside.
Yeah.
Because my GOAT on inside linebacker is always and forever Ray Lewis.
Oh, well, I mean,
he literally killed people.
But Ray Lewis, yeah, I mean, he did with a gun, but allegedly. But Ray Lewis could line up on the outside too.
Yeah, but he was the quarterback of the defense.
And then after they lost Ray Lewis, it's not fair because they got Terrell Suggs.
You know, it still has Bill Romanowski listed as just linebacker.
Yeah.
So he kind of did everything.
He kind of did everything. So moving on from that to the secondary, corners.
We're going to do corners and safeties together or separate?
We can do them together.
Then I'm just going to Ed Reed it.
Reed.
That was my freaking hero growing up. I wished I played like him. I wished I was built like him. He was my football icon. Like, if I couldn't close my eyes and wished I was built like a pro athlete, I would have modeled myself after Ed Reed.
I got 2.
Yep.
Ty Law, Lawyer Malloy.
Well, I mean, I could see why.
Yeah. Ty Law was a pure corner. I mean, the guy was so quick, so fast. And watching him play was fun. And, you know, when you talk corners now, I can't really think of a guy that stands out as a top-tier corner other than maybe
Sauce.
Gilmore, maybe?
Stephon Gilmore, as far as, like, proven veteran, like, whole career. Him, Jalen Ramsey, and I think as far as, like, new talent goes, Sauce Gardner is pretty incredible shutdown corner.
Yeah. You know, and there's a guy that if he stays healthy to look out for is now he was a rookie last year, but he got hurt. But he was so good in the 2 or 3 games he played was Christian Gonzalez of New England. He showed so much talent, but you know he got hurt and ended his season. But watch out for him this year.
And forecasting the future a little bit to watch out for. I really like Travis Hunter. At Colorado.
Yeah. You know, that Colorado team is kind of the bad news bears of college football.
And I'm digging that storyline. You know, if we want to transition to college football, we got a few more minutes before we hit our mark.
Let's do that. Let's talk right now. Let's just say overall. So we've seen a few dynasties in our lifetime.
Yep.
The USC, Alabama, and now you're looking at Georgia.
Absolutely. You win back-to-back, you get to be talked about like that.
Just now they're giving Reggie Bush's Heisman back, you know.
Which is a game changer.
Yeah.
I think that they should return a lot of those accolades because, they broke the rules. They paid their time. They've had it talked about.
Yeah, and we're going to get into NIL later on down the road. You know, But
Kevin wants to talk about NIL.
Yeah. When we have a good friend of ours, Kevin Ellison, on, who was a running quarterback who beat the Florida Gators without completing a pass, and I think he only threw 4.
Yep.
But he beat the Gators,
we were all fans that day.
Oh,
shout out to Kev.
Being a Dogs fan, we're gonna homer it up and be like, you know what? Anybody that beats the Gators is okay in my book.
That's right.
But I think that what we can do is we say the greatest college football coach of all time. We got to see him, Nick Saban.
Yes.
Love him or hate him, he always found a way to win. I mean, he changed quarterbacks out in the middle of a national championship game and won.
And won.
Twice. It happened twice.
With the same two guys.
Yeah.
Back-to-back
Jalen
years.
Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa.
Tagovailoa.
Yeah, I can't say it, but
It really is heartbreaking. Like I'll never forget it. That overtime game, that's the year Devonta Smith won the Heisman.
Yep.
It's like, how do you not double team him? Where's the over the top help?
Yep.
He won a Heisman. It's not like he's a regular receiver or he's pretty good.
Yeah.
He is the best receiver and college football player out of all of them.
I'll tell you the game that infuriated me so much when I was younger was the Bush Push game, where Notre Dame had USC beat, and they're on the goal line, right? And Matt Leinart is running the ball, and he gets stopped. And Reggie Bush just comes up and gives him a nudges him right into the end zone. A, that's illegal.
Yep.
And B, it wasn't called, so I'm like, But it infuriated me because Notre Dame could have beaten that team.
Mm-hmm.
They had them beat. They would have beaten that team, and, for whatever reason, but it infuriated me because I despised USC so much back then.
They were hard to watch.
We all did. And I hate to say this, but it made my heart really, really, it made my heart glow when Matt Leinart's NFL career just.
Yeah, it wasn't very good.
And, everybody that came.
Not a lot to talk about.
Everybody that came after Matt Leinart, really, they were good in college and suffered. And you could say that a lot about college players, that they dominate in college, but they don't transition well into the NFL.
Right.
We've seen that a lot with quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford is the best quarterback to come out of Georgia. And how many good quarterbacks have they had?
A lot.
David Green, Aaron Murray, Stetson Bennett, who hasn't played down yet in the NFL, but Aaron Murray has all the records, him and Jake Fromm, and neither one of them panned out in the NFL.
At all.
And look at all those Alabama quarterbacks, that other than Tua, Mac Jones, don't even get me started on Mac Jones.
Jones is happy riding the bench in Jacksonville now.
He is a running back. They're transitioning him to running back now.
You've lost your mind.
No. They are experimenting with him as a running back. The dude couldn't run.
That was his problem at quarterback because he wasn't mobile enough.
No, and he couldn't read coverages at all.
He's okay with being a backup behind
Trevor Lawrence.
Sunshine.
Yeah.
There, the top paid quarterback in the NFL. I still don't get that one.
Yeah.
Because look, we can look at some playoff film where
Playoffs?
Playoffs. We can look at some playoff film with Trevor Lawrence, where quite frankly he fumbled the ball literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
And when it mattered, and Jacksonville was trying to, pursue their first Super Bowl there, and I don't know why you pay him like that.
But he won a national championship.
Yeah, go Tigers.
We're talking about college football, but and now you had 3 quarterbacks drafted 1, 2, and 3, and I'm hoping Drake May turns out to be the best out of all of them, right?
I'm sure you do.
And I think he'll have a great career. Caleb Williams is not the best quarterback.
He's not, and people that don't see that are blind.
And I don't think Jaden Daniels is better than Drake May.
Right.
I think Drake May has the best arm. He still has some work to do, but he has the best arm. And they're talking about in training camp how he's throwing these no-look passes, looking at one way and throwing the other. And I think I said that about Brady, but
right.
He's not Tom Brady. But
no.
He is, I think, one of the most talented quarterbacks to come out in a long, long time. So
I think this is a great episode, too. Thank you guys for tuning in. We want to give a shout-out to Smokehouse Vape Company in Cornelia, Georgia. Jay Stone, and with me is Corey Champney.
Hey.
And remember, guys, it's not always about winning and losing. It's all about how you podcast it.